Buongiorno, buon pomeriggio, e buonasera, Lazio world. Welcome to our instant reaction pod. Consider this your stoppage time as we review Lazio versus Frosinone in a big 3-1 victory. All 3 points, back-to-back wins. I am your host, Sean McIntosh, joined by guest Bobby Meehan. Bobby, welcome back, and nice to chat after 3 points. How the hell are you doing?
I am doing supremely well compared to what I was feeling in the first 65 minutes of that game. But yeah, man, it's a great day, and I appreciate you having me back on.
Yeah, and it definitely was. I don't want to say a tale of two matches, but it's one that required a pen and us going down to really change the course of what we saw. So let's jump right into this. Lazio playing at home, Stadio Olimpico, last match of the year. And we see a couple interesting notes in the starting 11. I posted a tweet earlier today. It was time for the new kids to step up. We saw the likes of Kamada, Tati, and Pellegrini all making their starts today. That's not even noting Gila, who at this point is a wily veteran, marked the 300th club appearance for Felipe Anderson. And in the first 7 to 10 minutes, I thought there was an incredibly lively pace to the match. Tati, Felipe linking up. As usual, we're pressing high, we're winning the ball, we're countering quickly, but really failed to deliver in the final third. We see a first half kind of end with not a ton happening. You and I had texted prior that it was a bit of a snooze fest, and by and large, really the missing product from Lazio in that final third, leading to that disappointing first half. And then second half starts, and it starts with the substitution of Felipe coming off for Isaacson. And then in the 58th minute, there is a handball on Guendouzi. And I'm not one to typically cry about a call, but I thought this one was unjust. It most definitely was a handball if there wasn't a ton of pushing and shoving, and I thought it was clear that Guendouzi was fouled prior to that happening. And so I thought that the ref taking it to VAR would have seen that there was a foul beforehand. So I thought he was hard done. But Frosinone steps up, and 58th minute, we're down 1-0, and we've been in this position. We've seen this team kind of cower and fail to score goals, and I was worried about this, but the match changed at that point, and we did see a new Lazio press and continue to push forward. Isaacson and Tati both doing their part, and then in the 70th minute, we see Isaacson play a high lob into the box, and Tati with the beautiful header kind of dinks it over the keeper to tie this one at 1. And we see Lazio come to life with not even 2 minutes on the clock added, and we go up 2-1 with, again, Tati really pouncing on a mistake by Frosinone, charging up the middle of the pitch, laying it off to Isaacson, who finishes it cleanly. And then in the 84th, to add to this, to seal the victory, to allow us to end the year without a panic attack off of a Zaccagni corner. Tati kind of heads it, seems to bounce right into Patrick, who finishes it as cleanly as Ciro Immobile to give us a 3-1 victory, and all 3 points that sees us ever so slowly, but it is movement up the Serie A table, with Napoli also dropping points today. Unfortunately, Fiorentina came away with a late winner against Torino, but we see Lazio now 8th in the table, 27 points, one behind Napoli at 28. This is we're recording this on December 29th. Roma has yet to play Juve in a big match, so they're also currently at 28 points. So despite dropping a ton of matches that we don't want to see us drop, we've now won 2 in a row, 2 must-win matches, and we're in a fight. And so here we are, Bobby. Give me your 3 words or less for this one.
Where's this been? For me, it was one that I texted you as soon as we went down 1-0, just hoping that this would open the game up, and at that they did exactly that. I think that they came to realize that they can't keep playing scared, they can't keep playing timid, they can't keep holding back and playing not to lose. And at that point, they literally did have nothing to lose. They just had to go for it. Yeah, so for me, it was where's this been, because I feel like it has been an eternity since I've seen like an attacking performance like that, when it really came down to it.
Yeah, we mentioned this one coming to life, and really, it all sort of changed with the penalty. I think that was probably the biggest catalyst. Isaacson playing a huge role, but
Huge.
my 3 words were Tati turned up, and I think in hope, there's a weight lifted off of his shoulder. We get the comment here on YouTube from Taz 1109. Love that jersey, Shawn. In honor of Tati, I hope. I am wearing an Argentina kit. For those listening to the audio version, indeed, in honor of Tati Castellano. So my 3 words: Tati turned up. Tremendous job today. I don't want to say argue, but I've gotten into the discussion with a couple of folks on Twitter, and that have likened him to Murici, and he's had some really tough misses, and it's easy to get disappointed in a young player. He doesn't have a history with the club, so when Cheeto struggles, it's we can lean on a history of all the positive moments, and Tati doesn't have that. But I've just been so keen and really harped on all the positive he's done. Like, yes, he is a striker. He needs to finish his chances. But for me, I can be hopeful because he's done so many other things well. He's linked up his effort. First of all, he's that I want to see that. We all love our players that are going to give 110%. And despite struggling to bag his goals, he's given that. And today was just, you felt for him. You saw the players around him celebrating a little bit extra because they knew what it meant. And so, for me, that just gave a whole new life. It's like the second he scored, man, we pressed even further, and we played for each other. Right? He lays off that beautiful ball for Isaacson, unselfish play, and then Isaacson maybe a little bit too unselfish, in laying a ball off for Tati, who finishes, only to be ruled offside. So, but again, you at least love to see the players coming together in that way.
Yeah, 100%. And, I think the other 3 words I can use to describe it is credit to Sarri. We've been very critical of him on here over the last month and a half or so. I texted you too, like right away, that the fact that he didn't wait, he waited it was immediate in terms of bringing his accent on. Like Felipe, after the first 25 minutes, just completely fell off a cliff. And he knew that, we couldn't afford to drop points to this team at home again in this similar sort of a situation. And Isaacson, within a minute of coming on, lays the ball off for Pellegrini, which, like, I wanted that ball to hit the back of the net so bad in like the 45th or 46th minute, whatever it was. But the subs had a huge impact on the game today. And it was one that, to your point, I think it's the first time that you've seen them like play for each other and just say, like, you know what? Screw it. Like, if we go down, we go down, but we're not going to go down without a fight, which was just awesome to see.
Yeah. Well, where did you, because here's an interesting comment from Patrick on here. And I made a note, at least on my thoughts, but where do you think the match was won? Do you think Vecino entering and Kamada leaving, do you think that was your moment where the match changed? Again, for me, it was by and large, I think the catalyst was the penalty.
Yeah, I would agree
going
100%.
down.
Yeah.
And I just saw a difference in what that team looked like post goal.
Yeah.
Once Tati got that off, it just seemed like there was a more confidence exuding from everybody.
Yeah,
So
you could almost feel like the weight. You could just almost see it, like they had just shed like 50 pounds off of their backs from going through that. And it was one that they were playing free, they were playing fluid. It was awesome to watch. But for me, it absolutely was immediately after the penalty of saying like, all right, you know what? Well, we got 30 minutes to go fix this, and we might go down, but we're gonna roll with it. So yeah, that was it for me.
yeah,
Also,
and look, 3 goals, which doesn't happen frequently with this squad this season, but it could have been 5-1. We
yeah.
mentioned, Isaacson being a little too unselfish, but Tati had a tremendous opportunity. I mean, look, the thing that's also that I've been really positive about him is he's also been unlucky, like
Hmm.
to an extreme. The chance he took at the end of this match is a goal in any other situation. I mean, tremendous strike off of a volley, really tough to do, and
Hmm.
keeper makes a save, and again, we could have been in a position of being up 5-1. So
Hmm.
it's nice to see. Uh, we've talked a lot about Tati. We mentioned Isaacson. You know, who was your man of the match?
I think it would be hard to go with anybody other than Tati for today. Just the way that he played all the way through. So for me, that's who I would give it to.
Yeah, no questions for me. It was Tati. You love to see it. He's obviously put in a ton of work. This was a big moment. We know Cheeto is out for a month, and really tough. So it was without question. Isaacson gets a big shout
Hmm.
out. Was tremendous in this one. I'll say. Um, it, it's not going to be long before he takes that starting spot. I
Yeah,
think.
and I think the other ones that we have to give a shout out to are the back four and Providel too, because for me, I'll be honest, when I looked at the lineup and saw Patrick and Marosic on the same side of the field, I was a little bit terrified. I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, I mean they played well. Pellegrini coming into the team had an exceptional game. I mean, gutted for him.
Yeah,
I hope that he's able to come back quickly. And Gila again has just been for me, he's been a revelation in terms of coming into the team. It looks like he's played here for years and years and years. I mean, for me, I had the note of they were breaking on a counter in like the 34th or 35th minute. He's one-on-one and he makes a huge tackle to break that up and start the attack going the other way for sure. For me, preventing a very dangerous scoring chance. So I have to give a huge shout out to the back four and Providel as well.
yeah. I'm glad you mentioned Pellegrini. Willie also sharing my sentiments on YouTube. He says, "I feel for Pellegrini. I also feel for Kamada. He isn't taking his chances, but still, they really didn't give him any service." So, just a quick note on Pellegrini. I honestly, first half, I had him as my player of the first half.
Hmm.
He was tremendous. I thought one, he did really well in supporting the attack. He
Hmm.
made a couple really nice runs. His free kick was fantastic, something that we've been desperately in need of, particularly with Luis Alberto struggling, with his set pieces. I thought he played really smart in defense,
Yep.
made every right pass. Um, it's God, I hope this is not serious because this happened earlier in the year where he gets a start in Champions League, gets hurt, and then it's back to the back of the rotation and
Yeah.
waiting and biding for his time. So let's just hope this isn't anything serious because for me, it's a no brainer at this point.
That's
He has
his
been
spot. Yeah.
good every single
Yeah.
time. There are
And
no
the
questions.
link up play with Sakanyi seemed like it's just like
Fantastic.
natural, like
Yep.
they've been
And
playing forever too.
Zaccagni
So
is another player who played incredibly well, who grew into this match. He just kept putting his head down, kept attacking, blistering runs, putting pressure on a defense. It's again, we struggled. They all struggled in the final thirds. Zaccagni had his moments where
mhm.
he could have done something a little bit better.
The
You
main
know, there
concern with
was some.
Sakanya for me is that he's diving a little bit too much. Like he's looking to get a call if something's not happening, which I guess you can kind of take as like, well, he's trying to make something happen. But for me, he's such a talented player. He's strong. He's fast. Like just get up and get on with it. But
Yeah,
yeah, it's
yeah, you know, and look, again, in the 69th minute, there was a moment where blazing solo run, beats a couple guys,
mhm,
gets into the box, cuts it back, only to be met by a second defender who steals the ball. And,
mhm,
that was a really, prior to us scoring, and that was a minute before Tati scored. It was a moment where I just put my head down. I'm like, he does everything so well to beat everybody. And,
mhm.
it really was like getting into the box was our black hole. That's where
Yeah,
everything went
100%.
to die. We would do
Yeah.
everything up to that point. Tati, how many times in this match alone did he take a ball and he would turn? He had a couple world-class moments,
Mhm.
turn, beat a defender, make a perfect pass, and then Felipe would just completely blunder, the final ball, and it was like anywhere near the box or in the
Yeah.
box, we just lost our minds.
Mhm. Yeah, 100%, and I think even just before that too for Zakanya as well, there's a 3-on-2 in the 64th. Great lead pass from Zakanya, and, to your point of we finally get one, we're sitting at the top of the 18, and Kamada decides to, like, pull a dummy and hope that it goes all the way through to Isaacson instead of just putting it in the back of the net or just taking a shot. I mean, that was really tough for me to see for Kamada. I feel like he's lacking supremely in confidence. I feel like we keep trying to hype up he's got an opportunity to step up and be the creative maestro in midfield. And for me, he's just not delivering on what we all hope and want him to be able to do.
So let's talk about it. Who was your bidone of the match?
Yeah, for me it was between Felipe and it was between Kamada. So I mean I think that you have to by default give it to Felipe because he didn't make it to the second half. But if it weren't Felipe, then Kamada would be my second choice.
Yeah, Kamada was a no-brainer. He was my Felipe was the no-brainer.
Yeah.
He was my bidone without a doubt. And again, he does a lot of good things and he wins the ball back first few minutes of the match. He does well in pressing, but our struggle right now is that final third.
Hmm.
And he was a black hole in that area.
Yep.
So many times he would just fail to deliver a good ball. It was like he was closing his eyes and trying to cross it in. On the note of Kamada, Kamada was absolutely invisible, no doubt. But I was getting just as frustrated for Kamada as he was. There was
Hmm.
a moment in the 19th minute. He makes a run across the field to his right in front of Felipe, wide open, makes the nice run, and no pass. And
Yeah.
what does Felipe do? Swings the ball in, and it's an immediate turnover.
Hmm.
And you see Kamada throw his head back,
Yeah.
right? No, nothing more frustrating for an attacker when you make the run, when
Hmm.
you're open and you don't get the service. And there was a few moments like that. So there's clearly a lack of trust. Something's not there. But but Kamada did a couple of those things that were right. And Felipe was unfortunately on the other side, not delivering the ball. So for me, he earns the bidone
Yeah.
today. And the good news is there weren't a lot of contenders for this award. It
Yep.
was a pretty clean match. If we can come out of it and say, all right, a tough first half from Felipe is our bidone winner with no real mistakes. And, you know, uh, if it weren't for a penalty, we would have come out of this with a clean sheet. And I shared my thoughts on the penalty. So I don't really blame Gendouzi for that. So, all in all, pretty positive.
Yeah. And it's one that, it's a theme of, I know you want to say it's not necessarily a tale of two halves, but life comes at you fast. Because, we're also texting during the game, joking that like I shouldn't be ever coming back on the pod because every time that I do, we're coming back and we're talking from a negative situation. And then 5 minutes later we're up and running again. So it's yeah, it was super great to see. I mean, it's one of the more entertaining games that I can remember this season. We've had a lot more bad stuff to talk about than good. So yeah, I mean, it's weird for me going into a weekend knowing that like Lazio are not going to, they're not going to ruin any of my weekend this weekend. So I'm very excited for it.
Well, yeah, if for me, if I'm thinking of the biggest positives we can take away, we're heading into a new year. This is a nice way for us to remember Lazio closing this out. We've got a week, a little over a week off. They'll play again against Udinese on Sunday, January 7th. An Udinese side that currently sits 17th in the table. You know, I, I feel good. Back-to-back victories,
Mm-hmm.
and it's more than the victory. It is how we played
Correct.
and how we turned it around. And I think you can really start seeing a future.
Mm-hmm.
Right? If you look at how Tati played, you looked at Isaacson, you look at Pellegrini. Didn't even mention Rovella, who was absolutely fantastic.
Yeah,
And
super solid today.
I think he's going to be a player. I'm already shouting and calling for him, and Spalletti better include him in any upcoming friendlies or fixtures that the national team is going to be playing ahead of Euros, because he's not a future player. He's a player today,
Yeah.
and so much of what he does is going to be underrated because he's not going to stack up a ton of assists or goals. But there was a couple moments in this one where Frosinone had chances. There was 49th minute. Frosinone has the ball really at the top of the box, and players lining up to take a crack at it. And out of nowhere, Pellegrini lunges in,
Mm-hmm.
wins the tackle, eliminates all threats. And he did that time and time again.
Massive.
And he is just so massive. So I think about where this team is going, right? We obviously don't have Sergei Milinkovic-Savic. We kind of see the decline of Cheeto, and he's getting up there in age, so
Mm-hmm.
it's not a secret that was going to happen at some point. I
Yep.
still think he's has a big role to play in
Mm-hmm.
this year. But we've got these young guns coming in, and now you have Gila, who looks like a really solid player. Romagnoli is going to come back from injury, and just it starts to look a little bit more promising.
Mm-hmm.
We've got some work to do in a transfer window in which we never really do a ton, but
Mm-hmm.
I think if we start giving some of these younger guys more starts and start phasing out some of the older players, I think we can at least see a project continue forward. So I just I don't know. I feel really positive. How do you? I
Same.
know we always throw out a panic meter,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
what's your positivity meter?
Yeah, no, positivity meter is through the roof right now. And it might just be recency bias, but I think that the other thing that's important to note is that we have 5 games in January, right? And they're back to back to back. So like going into January, if you would have asked me this like 2 or 3 weeks ago, I would have felt super nervous going into that, knowing that we don't really have the capacity to rotate, because if our senior guys aren't stepping up, then like the kids may not be able to do that. Like I feel completely fine knowing that we've got, such a busy January coming up. It really does though put a lot of emphasis on the Udinese and the Lecce game after that, because it doesn't get any easier when you go back to back against Napoli and Atalanta. So the next 2-3 weeks are going to be like pivotal in terms of where we finish this season.
Oh, absolutely. Going into this stretch, it said it had to be 4 wins in a row, which is really, really tough for any side, let alone Lazio, and regardless of opponent. But knowing the matches that we have after that, it truly is all 3 points have to be taken. And that's it. Look, if we want to keep top 4 hopes alive, right? Like it just, we've got to do it. And fortunately, the teams ahead of us are all kind of playing each other, so it is an opportunity that we've got to grasp. But here we are closing out 2023 in positive fashion. A great way to close this year out. We'll be back, of course, to cover all of these matches. It's been a lot of fun. We kind of re-kickstarted this podcast in 2023. The growth just in a couple months has been incredible. We appreciate all of the support. We're on YouTube. If you like what you see, give us a subscribe. helps us in many ways. We're on all social media platforms. We're on audio podcasts. So show us some love there. It'll mean the world to us. And going into 2024, we hope to cover more and more. We've got the instant reactions. Anytime there's any big signings or big news, we like to cover that. But we appreciate all the love, all the support. And at the end of the day, sempre forza Lazio.
Lazio.